Beckton gasworks was one of the prime targets for the bombers. And we were regularly down there because they were bombing it just as frequently as they could.
Somebody's made a bloody great hole in the cup in the second lift. It needs sorting.
Any idea what could have caused that?
Don't know. Must be something on a rest block, I reckon.
It provided gas for most of the city of London, or most of London. And so it was a prime German target. We've got German records which show it as being annotated as a major target hit. And of course, because it was on a bend in the Thames, it was a very easy target to find in a clear night.
That means we'll need to get the divers in to inspect it then.
I ain't got any choice, have we?
Okay, well, we'll get on to them straight away.
Right.
Our lives were in our own hands. I think that brought you into reality. Most of the time you didn't think about it, but when you were down there sort of with the bomb on your own, and that could blow you to bits any second, it does concentrate the mind.
I tell you, I dived in some rough places, but that was foul. You couldn't see a thing.
Oh, it's a gas holder. What do you expect?
There's a great column of flame, well, 200 feet, something like that. A rocket had gone slap bang in the centre of the gas holder. The explosion of it had demolished the structure, and the whole of the gas holder had opened up like a tulip on a hot day.
At that time, the Beckton gasworks here in East London were the biggest in Europe. More than 40 years later, engineers found a leak in that holder. Something in the bottom had shifted and poked a hole in the interior structure. They moved the gas out, but that didn't mean it was empty. There's a liquid seal, 4 million gallons of stagnant water with a thick covering of oil. The divers who went down into that stuff found what they thought was the nose cone of an unexploded bomb, what they call a UXB. There was only one team that could deal with it, 3-3 Engineer Regiment from Kent, the only army bomb disposal group in the country with divers. They're trained for dangerous situations, for what, when they have to go and deal with a terrorist bomb, they call the lonely walk. But this was to be terrifyingly different. Some of the people who've helped us reconstruct the extraordinary events that followed are still in the army and can't be identified for security reasons.
The bomb disposal officer in command that night was Major Robbie Hall. He just finished his training and had never before worked on a live bomb. In his team, Staff Sergeant Nigel Daly and Sapper Paul Wright. All three are played here by actors.
Anyone been inside a gasworks before?
No, sir. No, what did he say, sir? It's in a pond.
There's very little to go on, Staff. All control could tell me was that it's lying at the bottom of 40 feet of water.
It's going to be a great way to spend Friday night, sir.
All we knew was a suspect piece of ordnance, and that could be anything from a hand grenade to a 2,000 kilogram German bomb, whatever. So we knew very little about it. The thought of it being under 40 feet of water raised a few question marks. Was it in the river? Was it in a pond, a piece of waste ground? And it was difficult to imagine it, but obviously the imagination was working overtime.
Right, come on, James. Time to get out now.
The phone went, and I picked it up, and it was Robbie to say that he was actually in the bomb wagon on the way to an incident. And straight away, I just stopped. And you're in shock because you're thinking, oh no, can't be.
What time's he coming home?
He won't be home until late. You'll see him tomorrow.
You don't want to have that phone call. He would have been home at 6 o'clock in 15 minutes' time. And there you are.
Oh, easy does it, Fender. I want to get there in one piece.
I felt that most of the team didn't have a clue what was, facing us. It was basic, something totally new that I'd never ever come across, and I feel that most of bomb disposal have never come across before.
Roy and Disby, thanks for coming so quickly.
That's all right.
Be a relief to get these cleared up.
I'll bet. Where's the problem?
Holder number 4.
All we could see was the torchlight going up against the side of this big gas holder, and we were going, oh, sugar, that sort of thing. It's inside there, is it? No, right, yeah, thank you very much.
Let's have the kit out, lads.
Yes, sir.
Can you show me what it's like inside?
Yeah, sure, look. You got wall here? We got some sort of obstruction on the rest block at the bottom there.
At this point?
Yeah.
Now, this telescopes up and down, doesn't it?
But Roy pointed out the structure of gas holder number 4, which is a huge towering structure for us, and said that the piece of ordnance, which he'd heard was the nose cone of a bomb, had been found inside it, in the sump, as he called it, of the gas holder, which is a 40-feet pit of water on which the gas holder is built.
Right, how do we get inside?
Up these stairs.
Up the stairs?
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look.
The gas man turned around and said, well, the only way up to the top is by the little winding ladder that's going all the way around the gas holder. And we thought, so you're expecting us to get all our diving equipment, all our lead weights, all of our diving stores from the bottom here up to the crown by this 2-foot ladder that's going around the side of it. And he basically turned around and said, yeah, that's the only way you can do.
So you'll have to go into an airlock.
Okay, let's have a look.
Right, sir, we better start shifting the kit. Corporal Pettick and Sapper Fender are already halfway up, sir.
And you can actually see through the steel steps as you're walking up, and you can see the ground on the bottom actually diminishing away from you in the torchlight. It wasn't just strenuous, it was pretty scary as well.
What's visibility like underwater? It's nil. You can't see a thing. Terrific. You've been 40 feet of black oily water.
What about inlets and outlets?
No, nothing comes in or out. Just dead water. 100 feet.
And what can it drop to?
Hey?
What can it drop to?
The holder had been filled with compressed air, which meant the only way in or out was through an airlock built into the roof.
Yeah, I've tested it. Right.
Right, lads. I'm going inside with Pete and Major Hall here. This is Neil and Fred. They're operating the airbox. Listen to what they say, they'll look after you. The air's all right to breathe. Might give you a bit of headache, but you'll be safe. See you inside.
Right, staff, over to you. Get the gears sorted. I'll see you down there. Yeah.
Oh, enjoy your last breath of fresh air, sir.
At that point, I realised just how huge a gas holder is as you start to go down into this massive cathedral-like structure with little echoes going around the place, this splashes of water dripping down from the ceiling onto the water and echoing around this huge chamber. And looking down, seeing a beam of light from Roy's torch, picking out different parts of the holder. It was a huge, vast area.
I was pregnant at the time. I was 10 weeks pregnant with my 3rd child. You just say, no, life has just got to go on. So you just go through the motions. But all the time in your mind was the fact that they were out on a bomb and you were just waiting for that phone call to say, that's it, false alarm, or everything's okay.
It echoed an awful lot in there, but because the light was very restricted, only shined in a certain area, you knew that there was a huge area that was in darkness. So it made you realise how small you were inside such a big structure as the gasworks.
Supper, right, let's have that standby tank off that end. Yes, sir.
It's like being in a canyon. You start shouting, but your voice gets lost.
Corporal Pethick, check the resuscitator.
And then all of a sudden it bounces back at you, and in the space of a few seconds.
This is how I want to play it. I'm going to go down first. Staff will supervise the course.
In bomb disposal, on many occasions, you get called out to a hoax or a false alarm, expecting it to be the real thing. But in the end, it turns out to be nothing but. Subconsciously, I felt that hopefully it wasn't going to be a bomb and we could clear up, pack up, and go away and have a good weekend.
Right, let's get the diver dressed.
How thick is the soil? A couple of inches. Held seal in the
It's a
tank.
filthy, disgusting, dirty environment. It's not pleasant diving. And so quite frankly and quite honestly, I was quite keen to see this operation behind us and get out of there. So I was keen to get on with it, find out that it wasn't anything, and let's get moving. I have to admit that there was a point at the very beginning of the dive, having entered the water, and experience the thick layer of black oil in a very big, daunting and unfamiliar environment, when every instinct was telling me to get out of that water and send somebody else in. And if I was ever going to wimp out, you know, I came fairly close to it, I think, at that point. But I've experienced that sort of feeling before in diving, and what you have to do is get a couple of meters below that oily surface and into water. Even though it's no visibility, I can then calm myself down, settle my breathing down, think about what I'm doing, think about which way I'm facing, because it's very, very easy in nil visibility to get totally disorientated, and all of that adds to the stress of the situation.
Diver mate, bottom. Understood.
Diving itself is a job not for the squeamish. It's very physically demanding for a start. The amount of equipment you need to carry, plus the environments that you're actually diving, it's totally alienated to the human body. The support element on the surface also has its major problems as well. Trying to control and locate and keep control of the diver under the water is a major problem.
Marty, keep watching these bubbles.
Aye, I've gone.
So I moved off, first of all, to my right, facing the side of the holder, very, very slowly, just feeling through the debris. I found exactly what was described. It was a conical piece of metal, about 18 inches diameter and about 18 inches high, quite obviously made of very solid cast steel. It was very, very heavy. I worked my way around it. There was no obvious fusing system. It felt distinctly like a piece of ordnance. At that stage, I was quite convinced that there was no fusing system or anything sensitive about it. So after some time, I decided I was going to turn it over and have a look inside. And as I turned it over, it was full. It just seemed to be that conical piece of metal packed with some sort of plasticine type substance.
God, that's horrible.
I was obviously very conscious that people outside were waiting on bated breath, and that there was obviously a risk that, you know, people could start to flap and unnecessarily evacuate people and all of that sort of thing. So the first message I had to get to those outside was that what we had found was inert, was not life-threatening, and that people could now calm down, and we had a simple engineering task to deal with whatever this obstruction was. And there may be some follow-up operations to that, but at this stage, there was nothing really to worry about.
It's definitely a nose cone, a damn big one. We're going to get this field checked anyway, just to see what it is.
It was sent to the Royal Armaments Research and Development Establishment in Kent for analysis by forensic scientists. These tests were expected to confirm Major Hall's theory that it was spent TNT left over from a partially detonated bomb.
Can you get that, sir?
The team returned to the holder to bring out the nose cone.
Oh, God!
One of the theories that was, I think, quite popular at that stage was that this nose cone was effectively a fragment from a bomb that had exploded during a major raid on Beckton gasworks and had somehow been blown through the side of the gas holder and lodged itself into that position where we found it. At that point, I decided that I would call in the expertise of one Arthur Hogben, who runs the Explosive Ordnance Disposal's Technical Information Centre. Now, Arthur is really the world's living expert on every bomb of any type.
The important thing about a bomb is it has to be safe to be carried on the aircraft. It only becomes dangerous after it's been released from the bomb. Therefore, the fuse on a bomb has two purposes. One, to detonate the bomb when you desire it to detonate, i.e. on impact, slightly after impact, or perhaps days after impact. And it also has got to be quite safe and therefore arms itself as it falls through the air.
Hi, that looks a real beauty.
What do you think we've got?
It looks like a 500. Now, we just check the diameter.
The best way to identify a World War II bomb is no different today than it was 40 years ago. The German manufacturers constantly changed their designs to stay one step ahead of the Allies, but the bomb disposal men dealt with them all and kept painstaking notes.
There you are, that's the beauty you've got. See, bang on 18 inches, thin-skinned. So you've got a 500 SC down there.
Right, if the rest of the bomb's down there, how many fuses do we expect?
Well, you should be able to see whether there's either one or two. It can be either.
I cannot see a damn thing in that water. It's all by feel.
Oh, God. In that case, you're going to have to feel for it. And if you feel forward of the suspension lug and you find a fuse pocket, then you know there's going to be another one. So you've got two. But if you feel forward and you don't find a fuse pocket, then you've only got one fuse, and it will be in the rear half of the bomb.
The test brought bad news. The sample was TNT, but still intact and in perfect condition.
The point about it being intact TNT was that it wasn't the product of an explosion. So the rest of the bomb must be in holder number 4.
There were 2 gas holders destroyed in the Beckton gas works. Actually blew up like from direct hits. Even if the bomb dropped on open ground, the splinters would very often puncture the gas holder. And you'd have flames 3-4 feet long come squirting out through a hole. Dozens of them in the side. Well, now the gas company used to provide buckets of sticky clay, and the firemen used to go and grab a bucket, and you get a handful of clay and slap it on the hole, and out would go the fire, and the clay would stick on. But there was quite a number of them punctured, and that was frightening. There was so many things were frightening.
Soldiers can sleep anywhere, anytime, and here he was, just toss and turn. It was on his mind. It was actually worse because he'd only just finished his course 2 months before, and it was his first big job.
It's 4 o'clock.
Try to stop thinking about it. You need to sleep.
I know.
I must admit there were lots of emotions running at this stage. I realized that that we had started something that was going to turn out to be a major operation.
Is that you, Daddy?
Go back to sleep, mate. It's early.
Bobby, you got everything you need?
Yeah.
Forgotten this?
All right. I'll call you as soon as I can.
Dad?
I stood
It's all
there
right,
and
Ben.
we just had a hug in silence
Back to sleep now.
because we were both thinking, I don't want you to go. I was fighting the tears back a bit, and it's quite difficult actually because you can see he is sometimes. And we just looked at each other and just said, I love you, and then he just went quickly, that was it.
The team returned to holder number 4 to search for the rest of the bomb. After more than 6 hours in exhausting conditions, Major Hall and his men were down to their last reserves of air.
It's got to be down there somewhere.
Couldn't have missed it, could we? We haven't checked the whole thing yet. Come on, staff, let's get another diagram.
What's that for us? Anyone can go back in, sir? We've got a couple of minutes left of his dive.
Are we off for out?
Off a set, sir. And the standby set. 30 minutes, that should be.
I don't want to leave until we've used everything, done all we can. We'll keep going as long as the air lasts.
Okay. Get yourself dressed, John Wright.
Very right, staff. Give it your best shot.
We'll try, sir.
It was like a zigzag search. I'd go down in a straight line, move across to arm's length, and turn around and come back the other way. And it would just be systematically searching. So it was a question of literally closing my eyes because my eyes were no use at all while I was down there. I noticed that the rubble was becoming thicker and thicker. I felt this crater, edge of a crater, and I tried to stop myself. But because I was on this slope and I was negatively buoyant and it was very slippery, I slid actually into the crater. And as I gingerly felt around in this crater, I felt a cylindrical object. And I decided very quickly that this is what I was looking for.
We got a lifeline signal, and he sent 5 bells. And the 5 bell signal means I have found, started, or completed my task. There was a great deal of excitement and debate as to exactly what this signal meant, but you know, hopes were high that he had actually found something. So following Sapper Wright's second signal, there was a short, tense pause until he broke the surface.
Get your mask off. Get your mask off.
He came straight to the dinghy which was alongside the pontoons and removed his face mask, and in a breathless flurry explained that he'd found it. And there was obviously a great deal of excitement amongst the guys on the pontoon.
Well done. Well done. I can't believe it didn't go off when it hit the bottom, sir. It's gone right through the concrete and it's lying in clay.
Right, how's it lying?
It's arse end up, sir. It's about 2.5 feet long, and I could just about...
Without swearing, it was pretty well, oh dear. We were all expecting to have a good weekend, but obviously finding the centre part of the bomb, which was the main workings of the bomb, we obviously knew that it was going to be a full EOD incident, 100%.
Call Major Lucas. Tell him we've found it. I'll call him shortly. Right, I'm going to get in for a quick recce myself, and then we're out of here.
Principle amongst the other problems is that sensitive explosives within the fuse pocket itself will have degraded over the years. These will have formed what are called picrate crystals within the fuse pocket. Those crystals are very friction sensitive. If the bomb is given a knock, a violent knock, or if they're heated up, then they could explode. There could be some kind of clockwork anti-handling system or delay system associated with that fuse. And movement of the bomb could start that running. So those are the two concerns, both of which, of course, have a direct bearing on moving the bomb. And that's exactly why we would never, but never break the golden rule and move a bomb before dealing with that fuse and immunizing it against those two particular hazards.
If it had gone off while it was underwater, because water is not compressible, it would almost certainly have burst the sides of the tanks. That would have flooded the area with the toxic water, which I don't know how many gallons, but many millions of gallons would have flooded the area. The chances are that fragments would have punctured some of the gas holders adjoining the one with the bomb in, which with the release of natural gas. It would certainly have fractured any underground pipes that were running from the tank or near the tank. And unfortunately, it would certainly have killed anybody inside the tank and possibly some of those outside it.
Good evening. Last on place.
The gas board and rescue services now prepared for a full-scale emergency. A bomb that had lain dormant for nearly half a century once again posed a major threat to Beckton.
Right, as far as I'm aware, you found the bomb itself, the bomb case, with a single fuse in it, and that fuse on the underside. Right, what we've got to do now is sort out the render safe procedure.
I was actually out doing some other work and received it on the radio. And there was a tremendous amount of euphoria having found a bomb. There was tremendous excitement within the regiment. And having found it, I then made my way back down to Beckton to take over and see what was going on.
We knew that none of our diffusing equipment would work underwater. We knew that we couldn't remove the water from the gas holder. It's all linked into the River Thames and it's below the water table. And the pollution side of it would have been horrendous. There was no other option. I was going to have to lift the bomb out of its splash crater, out of the water, and only then would I be able to get at the fuse and deal with it.
I'm not happy about this overhang, sir. There's every chance it's going to get caught on that.
Yeah, and we're obviously going to have a problem with this suction if this thing's been lying in clay for so long, sir.
I'm not happy about moving the thing before we've immunised it. We've looked at all the options. There's no other way. We're going to have to lift the bomb out of the water.
Right.
It was the biggest decision of the whole operation. If I was to be sacked for making a wrong decision, that would be the one.
Basically, it was over to him. It was his first bomb. We talked it through. As long as he had no worries, I was happy that he knew what he was doing. I had total confidence in him, and it was over to him.
I was staggered by how many people actually were involved, from the fire service, the ambulance service, the police, the gas board. There were loads of people there. And of course, being on my first major bomb disposal operation, that was quite daunting.
What I'd like to do now is hand you over to Major Robbie Hall, who'll actually be dealing with the bomb.
Major Hall.
Thank you. I hope you'll excuse me for using a military format. Under the circumstances, it's the quickest way. Our aim, quite simply, is to render safe the UXB and holder number 4. Phase 1, an evacuation and cordon operation to clear and secure the entire area, is already underway. What we're going to do now is put 3 men inside the holder and relocate the winch that's currently going down through the airlock in through a new hole which we'll prepare at the bomb's original entry point. At this stage, we'll be in a position to lift it out. Phase 2, on the orders of Major Lucas, once the evacuation is complete, is to lift the bomb from its current position in the splash crater out of the water and lower it into a dinghy, and then carry out render-safe procedure inside the gas holder. The final phase is to recover the bomb from the holder to a safe area where we can steam out the TNT fill, blow the fuse pocket, thus rendering the bomb completely safe. That's all I've got, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Let's get on with it. Right, lads. Ready? Stop.
Sets checked and ready, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's get going. Stop right. We need 2 sets checked and ready.
There's already 2 in the Land Rover,
Good lad. Right, you 2, come on, let's get this kit sorted.
There was a very close bond between us. That bond evolved over the preceding days because we had been working together, but it was now quite clear that rather like the astronauts walking out towards Apollo whatever, you know, we were the 3 who were going to lead the critical path of this operation. I do remember a distinct feeling of instant claustrophobia as the door sort of closed behind us and left us in there, with obviously no immediate way out whatsoever.
Yeah, well, that'll be us locked in.
Yeah, thank you.
0, send, over.
We're ready here, Guy. We clear to start.
0, no. Give me 2 minutes to clear the site, then I'll come back to you. Over.
It was actually quite a strange 2 minutes as we heard his Land Rover start up and then drive off into its final position at the control point. A feeling of being left rather sort of on our own in the middle, and we sort of looked at each other, and Staff Daily made some comment about, you know, that's us then. And we knew it was all obviously about to start.
1, this is 0, over. 0, the cordon is now in place. All over to you. Over.
On our own, lads. Let's get this over with.
When Major Hall went back to the bomb, he took a difficult decision. He was going to use a knife to cut away live explosive from around the fuse pocket.
I then decided that it was worth removing that bulk explosive from the front end of the fuse pocket itself. And it was my technical opinion that this would give a good chance that if the fuse pocket did detonate, that only the fuse pocket would go off and that the bulk explosive inside the bomb would not detonate. Obviously, the effect of the fuse pocket itself going off on its own would be devastating for anybody in the immediate vicinity of that fuse. And I was quite aware myself, whilst excavating with the knife, that if I was to do something foolhardy and go in too aggressively and actually jar the knife against the fuse pocket, then there was a good chance that that would be end X for me, quite clearly.
His theory was that, right, that would kill him and his team, but it would not cause the main charge to explode. Now, this is very doubtful. It is possible that he could have reduced the risk of the explosion, but the chances of detonating a 1.5 pound explosive 6 inches away from a main charge, there is still a very high probability that the whole lot would go off.
Once my excavations had got to that point where I'd managed to expose a fair part of the fuse pocket, I noticed that the knife, as it was starting to work into the harder fill, was occasionally sinking and slipping slightly as a piece of explosive gave. And so my risk-gain analysis had swung the other way, and I now felt that there was a chance, or too much of a chance, that the knife might slip at the wrong moment and strike the fuse pocket.
The way I look at life pessimistically is the simple fact that if the BDO messes up and he blows himself up and he blows me up with him, at least he gets it. So he's obviously got to look out for himself first, so he's going to be very careful of what he does. If he does blow himself up and takes me with him, it's not really his fault because he didn't do it deliberately.
Looks like he's been down there for ages. How long's it been, Staff?
10 minutes. Just keep watching his bubbles.
Hello, 1, 0, over. There's less tension if you're actually there because you know exactly what's going on. If you're remote at the end of a radio, you've got no tangible contact. And therefore you're trying to imagine what's going on, the thought processes and so on, and just offer advice, but you can't. So it is incredibly frustrating.
Hey, let's have that weight belt back here. Right. Stick it in the middle. I don't want anything else going over the side. Yeah.
One of the things that concerned me a great deal was the broken reinforced concrete edge of the crater coming into contact with the open end of the bomb case as we lifted it. And I tried to feel time and again exactly where the two were in relation to one another, because of course what I wanted to be absolutely sure of avoiding was the now exposed fuse pocket actually connecting with the concrete skin as the bomb was lifted, because obviously that connection would be in exactly the wrong place and potentially very hazardous.
Until it is rendered safe, there is always a risk that the OD operator will not do something wrong. Just by pure fate, something will go wrong and he will be killed. This is a risk all bomb disposal operators take.
Well done, boss. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Give us the radio, please.
Radio.
Right, 1-0, this is 1-1. 1-0, this is 1-1.
Hello, 1, this is 0. Over.
Yeah, Guy, there's a jagged edge overhanging it that I'm really not very happy with. I'm just going to have to be gentle and hope for the best, over. Right, I'm going to stay here on standby so I can get in a quick if it jams. 1-1, this is 1-0. Are we clear and ready, over?
1-1 ready, over.
1-1. Okay, lift now.
Coming up, over.
What we heard was a lot of groaning and moaning from the actual lifting equipment, and we thought basically that the lifting equipment wasn't capable of lifting the bomb itself because of the weight.
If it was a clockwork fuse in the bomb, then any movement of the bomb could start it ticking. As you know, you shake your wristwatch to make it start ticking.
It's all right. Relax.
There was a big jolt, and then everything started settling down because the bomb had actually come free from its surroundings.
We actually thought, you know, the bomb's taken an awful lot of abuse at the time, and it could go bang.
The bomb has been static for 40-odd years since it landed at Beckton, and we have now moved it for the first time. And so if anything is going to start that clockwork mechanism, if there were one, then this could well have done it.
I had a small torch going onto this thin cable, and all of a sudden this colossal thing on the end of it started materialising out of the water. And my first reaction was, thank goodness, because obviously if it was going to go, it would more likely have gone then, when it was actually jolting or was being lifted. So I think there was a big sigh of relief.
Let's get the boat round and go get it.
Well done. Keep me informed as you make more progress.
Aye, take it down. 1-1 coming down now, sir.
It actually looked very big now, dangling from the end of the winch cable. And my immediate concern was actually, was it going to sink the dinghy when I lowered it into it?
Well, it's okay, it's running itself. Just get me over to the pond and get the mic Steph on it straight away.
Easy. Jump in. Make it fast.
Let's get the phones on, please.
Thank you.
Everyone still, please. Absolutely quiet.
Right, no sign of clockwork device there.
Then he's got to determine whether he has got a stopped clockwork fuse or a direct impact fuse. And by reading what is actually written on the fuse head, he will determine which fuse it is. It will probably be a direct impact fuse. I believe in his case he did identify it as a number 15, which is a direct impact fuse. He wants to drill into it not more than an inch. He's got to drill through the thickness of the top of the fuse, this part. So he's got to drill in there and into this gap here. Now, if he drills any deeper, there is always the possibility that he could start drilling into ferric Pitt-Great crystals. And that, of course, would be the end of him and the bomb.
The hazard that we now face are Pitt-Great crystals inside that fuse pocket. Those are very friction sensitive, and we in any way disturb those Pitt-Great crystals, there's a good chance that that fuse pocket would detonate. So it's very important that we deal with those.
I was standing over his shoulder with a torch, and he knew he was coming very close to the last few moments of the drilling phase. But a couple of seconds, I assumed, before he was going to stop, he broke through the inner surface of the fuse pocket. He actually moved forward jerkingly, and at the same time there was a huge hiss.
Shut up and listen.
I added the two together, a sudden movement like that and a loud hiss, to assume that the bomb was going to go bang.
The first thought that went through my mind was that there was a clockwork system and that I had somehow started it. My mind was certainly racing, and I was asking myself, what could it be? What should I do? Certainly going through my mind was the well-known 12-second pause with the old clockwork fuses. Once the ticking stopped, there was the classic 12 seconds before the actual detonation took place. And so for at least that 12 seconds, we were waiting with fairly bated breath, and hearts were beating fairly quickly at that stage.
My first thought was to get as much distance from the bomb as possibly necessary. That was my thought. Physical actions was to shut my eyes, stop breathing, and just think. And I think my first thought was my family, basically. I thought, this is it.
God, I thought that was it. You and me both. Everyone all right?
I think we're still here, sir.
0, this is 1-0, over.
Hello, 1, this is 0, over.
This guy, we've just heard a very strange hissing noise coming from the fuse.
As long as the noise has stopped, proceed, but keep me informed of your progress. Over.
It's stopped now. I intend to carry on. Out.
We never knew that the actual fuse was going to hiss at us. But we found out at a later date that the actual fuses are built in a vacuum. So it was the air rushing into the fuse pocket that caused that hiss. But actually, at the time on the ground, and we never knew that, we actually thought our number was up.
During the next stage, to immunize the bomb, Major Hall would have to pump salt water into the fuse pocket to soak the volatile picrate crystals. First, he had to screw in a needle valve and make it airtight with a sort of putty called luting.
He has then got to create a vacuum to draw into the fuse pocket a warm salt solution such that it will fill all the intricacies of the fuse where the ferric picrate crystals are.
It's going on really nicely.
Although you have, to the best of your knowledge, filled every crack in that fuse pocket with water, it is possible that there are some cracks which you have not reached. And by thumping the bomb, moving it as it swings, you could get movement within the fuse pocket, which could cause one or more of these crystals to set the bomb off. So no, you've got to be very gentle with a bomb.
I had to stress to everybody that actually we were not quite out of the woods yet, and it wouldn't be the first time that an immunized fuse had actually gone off. What we have done is taken every possible precaution to desensitize that fuse before we move it further.
After more than 8 hours with the bomb, the team finally handed it over to the crash crew. It was their job to take it to a safe place and steam out the explosive.
For me, what was a very big moment, which was to open the main door of the airlock and get behind the bomb and push him out, and he was literally touching the sides, either side of the doorway as we eased him out. Big dramatic exit from the airlock with Guy there, beaming smile from ear to ear to shake my hand and congratulate us on a successful job. It was a tremendous feeling.
Over to you, mate.
My pleasure. Thank you, Roy.
Oh, well done. Well done, well done. Okay, grab the team now and away.
I'll do that, sir. Oh, thank God for that. I was getting lonely.
There were still hours of dangerous and difficult work to be done. While the bomb was carefully lowered down the side of the holder, waste ground nearby was prepared for the final stage of making it safe.
Gently.
The crash crew would have to steam hundreds of pounds of explosive from the bomb, leaving just the fuse pocket and its booster charge to be safely detonated.
The steam generator produces steam into the case, which melts the explosive, which then flows out as an emulsion of hot water. The bomb is not safe until you've steamed all the explosive out of it and have destroyed the fuse pocket. Then you have an empty case, a piece of metal.
When it was all over, it sort of hit home that we'd done a real job and dealt with potentially a very fatal weapon. And it was nice to know that on that day I actually earned my pay.
I felt that I was proud to be part of that team. Although I was a minor part of the team, everybody seemed to knew exactly what they was doing.
We just stood there hugging each other, and you just don't say a word. Because you just can't believe, gosh, that's it, it's all over, done, finished, history.
I did feel a certain sort of affinity with my forefathers of World War II. But of course you have to really take your hat off all the more to those guys who were doing that kind of an operation, but doing it in completely uncharted territory. And a lot of them gave their lives to produce the information that we now work with. So I do hold those men in tremendous admiration.
No, I try not to emphasize too much the danger, because I think that everybody was in danger, even in this country during the war. We just perhaps had a little more occasionally.
Stand by. Firing now.
It's a big load lifted off your shoulders, and a tremendous feeling of well-being. And then you do start to look ahead, to focus and think, well, you know, that was tremendously successful, that all worked, and that was wonderful.
Major Robbie Hall, Staff Sergeant Nigel Daly and Sapper Paul Wright were all awarded the Queen's Gallantry Medal for their part in rendering safe the bomb in gas holder number 4.